Bem, então vamos à nossa última palestra de hoje, a última palestra do Festival do Clube de Criação de São Paulo, com o VP de Estratégia e Planejamento da Razorfish. Antes de chamar o nome dele e pedir as palmas de vocês, a palestra será em inglês, quem precisar de fone de tradução simultânea na entrada da plenária. Ok? Então chamo ao palco com uma salva de palmas de todos o nosso palestrante Joseph Crump, Joe Crump.
Are we on? Talk about the tough act to follow. I promise not to wear you out nearly as much. So I'm here today to talk about zebras. Believe it or not, to talk about zebras. As it was mentioned, I'm head of strategy and planning for Razorfish and our sister company Digitas. But once upon a time, I was head of creative, so I consider myself a recovering creative person. It's awesome to be in a room filled with creative people. It's usually mostly account people, mostly nonsense. So I've spent most of my career working for really, really big brands. And I'm here today to talk about kind of the other side, what it's like to work for not so big a brand, or a brand that is number 2, number 3, number 4, or even farther back in the pack. I love Brazil. I try to spend as much time here as possible. Basically, split my time between New York City and Rio. Consider myself quasi carioca. Apologies for the Paulistas. So just to get to know you guys a little bit more, these are the top 10 brands currently in Brazil. So who in the audience is working with any of these brands? Anyone? Yeah, in the back? A few. Good. So what about these? This is the second rank. So this is numbers 11 through 20. Anyone working with these folks? So a few more. All right. So what that means to me is that the majority of us actually are working with brands that are not number 1 or not number 2. We're working for brands that are farther back in the pack. So this is what work feels like for a lot of us, I think. We feel like we're constantly pushing, constantly working very, very hard and not being number 1. So my point today is that I think that actually is a great gift. It's a great gift not to be number 1, not even to be number 2. My belief lately is that the best thing that you can be is number 3 or number 4 or number 5, farther back in the pack. Because if that's where you are, no one's watching you. You're going to be coming from behind, out of the blue. You're going to be a zebra, azarão. It's an amazing thing to be an azarão. Because when you win, and you can win, it just feels a lot better. If you're number 1, it's expected for you to be number 1. Even if you're number 2, you're gunning to be number 1, and number 1 is looking over their shoulder at you. If you're farther back in the pack, it's awesome to kick the ass of number 1. It's a global concept, the idea of the underdog, the idea of someone who comes from behind to win. In every culture, all over the world, there's a great admiration, there's a great mythology around the underdog. It's a very, very powerful idea. Why is it? I think it's because most of us, in our own lives, most of us are underdogs. Very few of us are number 1. Most of us spend most of our lives farther back, watching number 1. Thinking about what we would do if we were there, or maybe even how to get there. This is true in brands too. a lot of interesting brands, I would suggest maybe the most interesting brands right now in the world, were originally underdogs. Originally, they were zebras. I believe that all of these brands, all of us who are underdogs, who are zebras, have the same basic DNA. There's something unique, something really powerful about the zebra. So I'm going to dig into three, maybe the most famous zebras in the history of advertising. First, Volkswagen. So VW is very different, I realize, here in Brazil. It's a leading brand. Once upon a time, it wasn't. So when VW came to the United States, shortly after the war, the first year that they arrived in the US, they only sold 2 cars, literally 2 vehicles in the first year they came to the United States. Hard to imagine now, especially here, considering how dominant the brand is, but it wasn't always that way. They did some of the best advertising in the history of advertising that really caused the American market to rethink what it meant to drive a small car and the advantages of it. By 1970, about 7% of the market was owned by Volkswagen. And they've been on a steady, steady growth curve ever since then. They've done it by really speaking to a different kind of driver. They had a very clear message, they had a very clear target, and they spoke to them very clearly. So look at this. At the height of the recession, of the global recession, when most of the other auto manufacturers were failing or in retreat, Volkswagen hit their high point. They've done well throughout, always. Pepsi. Again, sort of a different situation here in Brazil where Coke is so dominant. Was not always the case. 1970, in market share, Coke was winning, but not by a lot. Pepsi 29%, Coke 35%. Pepsi took on Coke very, very directly. They portrayed Coke as the brand that was old-fashioned, with Pepsi being the brand for the new generation. Also, they did taste tests very directly, where they did the classic example where you cover Coke and cover Pepsi, ask people to taste them and name which one was their favorite. Even Coke drinkers preferred Pepsi. Very classic head-to-head advertising campaign. So by the 70s, they were really making a dent in Coke's sales, right? Coke sales were dropping, Pepsi's were growing. And here we are, by 1990, again in the United States, Pepsi had beaten Coke. Apple, maybe the most famous zebra. It wasn't always the case. In 1995, 1997, there were a lot of people, a lot of the media predicted that Apple was going to go out of business entirely. By 1997, they lost $1 billion in a single year. Steve Jobs was fired. It was the company's future was in question. And then came a bunch of really tremendous advertising. Think Different really took on IBM, whose campaign was all about think. The iMac, fabulous product, well advertised. And then finally, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC. Very clearly naming the enemy and taking them on. What happened? So by 2012, they had passed Microsoft. Huge, huge comeback from a company that was almost extinct. So all these three products, right? A car, a drink, a computer, super different, all very, very different. And yet I would suggest they're all zebras. They're all azarões. And I think, again, that any of us who are working with a brand that's farther back in the pack, I think we can all be zebras too. I think there's a very, very similar playbook. There's something in common with all of those brands I've just shown you, and probably with the brands that you're working with now. I'll tell a story from my recent past, my biggest zebra so far. In 2010, we were hired by Samsung, the telecommunications company, to help them take on Apple. Seemed like a fantastic opportunity. So this is the way the market looked. This was how we were greeted on our first day by reality. Samsung, nowhere to be found. Way, way, way down the list of market share. A little scary, but also, again, a tremendous gift. A tremendous gift. So I'd like to suggest that there are 6 steps. If you're a zebra, if you want to be a zebra, 6 steps for how you can take on the leader. Number 1, most of us are zebras. Most of us want the underdog to win, whether we will admit it or not. We doubt them because we don't know whether it's possible or not. So the first thing you do is identify who are the other zebras, who are the other underdogs. How do I get them on my side? So this is kind of a map of market share as we took over the brand. So you can see Apple, big dominant share, right? And then a lot of smaller players who had small shares of the pie. So HTC, Motorola, Android brands. Samsung was an Android brand. But no one was really a dominant brand in the space. They were all kind of minor players. And then there was BlackBerry, whom we really believed was a doomed brand, and people were hemorrhaging off of that brand constantly. So we knew that if we could bring over people from HTC, people from Motorola, people who are defecting from the BlackBerry brand, we would have a community. We could have a legitimate shot at taking on Apple. Step 2, pick a fight. We decided we had to beat Apple. If we were going to be a legitimate player, or if we were going to be a strong player in the market, we really needed to take Apple on directly. Now, maybe many of you remember when brands have tried to do that. Motorola tried to do it 3 or 4 years ago. They were crushed. The road to taking on Apple is littered with dead bodies. So frankly, we were terrified. I was terrified about what could happen. The whole thing could backfire. So we went into it, all of us, with a tremendous amount of fear. I'm going to show you now the spot that resulted.
Hey, they're saying that this phone's going to be like a precious jewel.
Ooh, I love that.
The headphone jack is going to be on the bottom.
I heard the connector is all digital.
What?
What does that even mean?
Who knows? I'm psyched.
All I'm saying is that they should have a priority line for people who've waited 5 times.
I heard you have to have an adapter to use the dock on the new one.
Yeah, but they make the coolest adapters.
Welcome back.
Guess that Galaxy S3 didn't work out.
No, I love the GS3. It's extremely awesome. I'm just saving a spot in line for someone.
That's not cool. Yeah, man.
This year, we're finally getting everything that we didn't get last year.
Yeah.
The big screen.
True 4G.
Yep. What is that?
Hey, what'd you just do?
Oh, I just sent him a playlist.
By touching phones?
Yep. Simple as that.
It's the Galaxy S3.
Hey!
Hey, Mom, Dad.
Oh, thanks for holding our spot.
Hey, man.
Oh, hey.
How's it going?
Saved you a spot,
I moved on.
but you're not gonna miss all this.
I got the Samsung GS3 now.
Is that a Samsung?
That's a new Samsung.
It is. It's pretty cool.
But I kind of like it.
This one's 4G.
Yeah, we've had that for a while.
This one's got a big screen.
This one has a bigger one. And we can share videos instantly. You can watch a video while you're sending an email.
Well, we're gonna get that, for sure. Maybe not this time, but the next time, right?
The next big thing is already here, the Samsung Galaxy S3.
So it really worked, right? It was a terrifying prospect, but what we saw almost immediately was that it hit on a nerve. It hit on a core insight that people were tired of waiting. People were tired of behaving like sheep behind the Apple brand, waiting every year for the new product. Samsung had an amazing product that was truly different, and this spot really called it out. It hit on a core insight, and we picked on the bully, and it worked. So the third thing is try to resist the impulse to create advertising. We really tried to stay very, very focused on telling simple stories about real people in their real lives, because we had a product that we thought was just frankly superior. And we knew if we stayed focused on telling those simple stories, people would respond.
Oh, excuse me. Can you take a picture of us?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Let's go, let's go. Come on, let's go. Have a go.
All right. Got it. There you go, guys.
For me too, please, just so I have a copy of it.
Okay, yeah.
I know. I gotta get one more on my can right here.
All right, one more. Okay, that's it. There you go.
I think I blink. What if we're gonna see a shark or something? We're scared.
Got it.
Get the Ferris wheel in the background. Push the button on the top. Can you do a panoramic, kind of like hold on? Yeah. Behind the shot.
Got it.
And then cameraman's choice. Whatever you want.
Seriously?
Cool.
One more for luck.
You guys ready? Can you take one? Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sweet.
Oh, that's good.
Another good one.
Oh, man. Awesome.
Share photos with your friends instantly, only on the Galaxy S3.
That's a lot of phones.
Hey, the baby's here.
Let Grandma see it.
I was looking. Okay.
Adorable. Look at this.
Is it a grandson? I didn't scroll down that far. It's a boy.
Check it out.
Share photos instantly, only on the Galaxy S3.
You dropped the baby.
Very simple stories based in real life. As a planner, this is the kind of work that I love. Just telling real stories that real people could relate to. So step 4, don't take yourself too seriously. You know, it should be fun. Advertising should be fun. We could see watching the bounce, both in social media and also with the sales of the device, that people were getting it. People were liking the stories. People were really choosing us over Apple. And so we were very careful not to be a jerk about it, right? So we stepped back during the Super Bowl campaign, we stepped back a little bit and decided to poke fun at ourselves. This ran during the Super Bowl.
I can't believe we're missing the game for this.
This feels like detention.
Want to see a picture of my cat?
No. Whoa, what is that?
It's the new Samsung Galaxy Note.
It's got a pin? This is awesome.
Yeah.
Samsung.
Yeah.
Again.
I don't know what I believe in anymore.
I know what I believe in.
Introducing the Galaxy Note from Samsung.
Well, that was over the top.
Most ridiculous spot I've ever worked on. Never done a spot where you shot anyone out of a cannon before. Maybe hope to never actually have to do that again. Again, it worked though. People were along for the ride with us. So step 5, At some point, I talk about this a lot with clients, you have to stop selling, especially today, and especially when you're going after a younger target, and start to give back. Take that really, really seriously. So we knew that we had, at this point, had enough devices in people's pockets that we wanted to reward them. We wanted to give back to them for the risk that they took, frankly, in going with an unknown brand and an unknown product.
Samsung needed a way to promote the NFC sharing features of its Galaxy smartphones, so we created one by rewarding Samsung Galaxy owners with a new mobile experience that had the potential to revolutionize out-of-home advertising forever. First, we brought posters to life by embedding them with NFC chips. Then we put them in malls, airports, cinemas, and other high-traffic areas in key markets. When Samsung Galaxy owners held their phones to the posters, they were rewarded with free music or ebooks instantly downloaded to their device. These weren't just posters. They became a new way to get digital content for your smartphone. We followed that up by engineering a whole new kind of interactive NFC-enabled kiosk, a vending machine for mobile content. Using a touchscreen, Galaxy owners browsed an expanded catalog of music, ebook, and video options, then downloaded selections directly to their phones using NFC. Tens of thousands of people interacted with the posters and kiosks, then shared their discovery with friends and family via social networks. The campaign resulted in major brand building awareness, media buzz, and best of all, really happy Samsung Galaxy owners.
So I don't know whether you guys saw any of these things, but they were so fantastic. They're actually just literally a piece of paper embedded with an NFC chip from which you could download content. Amazing, and really caused people to rethink what's possible with print. So the final step is, you have to act small. At this point, we were winning. We were really in the marketplace and winning against Samsung. But we took them on again. We behaved like fighters. We were very scrappy, right? We never relaxed. And we treated it almost like a political campaign. Many of us had worked on political campaigns in the United States, and we behaved like a campaign behaves when they're attacking a winner. So, for example, during the iPhone 5 launch, we brought together our full team together in a ballroom, a hotel ballroom in Los Angeles, all sitting together in one team. This is analytics people, technology people, creative people, strategy people, and planners with the client, with the chief legal counsel from the client, all in one room during the 2 days prior to the iPhone 5 launch and 2 days after the iPhone 5 launch. We watched intensely what was going on in social media as the launch happened, the classical big epic Apple launch. And then we reacted in real time, creating content for social and in paid media spots, which we had pre-bought and loaded with content as the launch was happening. And this is some of the work that resulted. So what we saw was that the iPhone 5, I apologize if any of you are carrying an iPhone 5, but the iPhone 5 was a very weak device. It was a very lame device. There was not much new news with the iPhone 5 in the United States. And we saw that in social media. People in social media were saying, wow, I waited a year for this, over and over and over again. So all we did was repeat that. We actually quoted them in paid media and in social media. We took on Apple very directly in the voice of consumers. And it worked. We killed them. We had some very savvy media buying here. So in social media, we simply repeated what was going on already organically in social media. In search, 75% of the people who searched for any iPhone 5 related term were served ads for the Note or GS3. And the same in online media. We crushed them. It was Apple. We have friends who work at Apple, and they were horrified. It was like getting hit in the face with a shovel. In the middle of their launch, we were the biggest brand possible. It was our single biggest day for Facebook fans was the day of the iPhone 5 launch. And it worked, again. So this, by the end of our campaign for the GS3, we were number one. We had beaten Apple. And the same happened on Wall Street with stock prices. So this was the beginning of a very long slide for Apple, where people realized, oh, they can be beaten. Apple is not the brand that we thought it was. And it happened again and again and again, and frankly, it's still happening, where we started a slide that they've not recovered from. So, I'm hoping that I've at least got you to believe that there is a bit of a process for when you're working with a zebra, what to do. So let's look at a local zebra. Let's look at Azul. So step one, find the other zebras and raise a flag. So in 2008, before 2008, you guys know this much better than me, the majority of Brazilians had never taken an airplane flight. So Azul really captured that insight. They knew that the majority of the population of the country had never flown on an airplane. Majority of people were still going to visit family in distant cities on the bus. They knew that that was a huge, huge opportunity. So what did they do? The biggest bullies in the market were TAM and GOL. Dominant, incredibly dominant in the marketplace. They were the ones that clearly Azul needed to go after. So what did they do? They started telling really good stories about real people. They started creating an offer that spoke to those people, all right, that spoke to Classe C, the rise of the middle class in Brazil. These are people that wanted to take planes, that wanted to fly. Who wants to take a 12-hour bus ride when you can take a plane? But until this time, it had been out of reach for them. So they offered good service, quality service, friendly service at a price that was within their reach. Step four, they didn't take themselves too seriously. They kept a sense of humor about it. So I don't know if you guys have seen the cartoon characters that get invited into airports. The name and the logo of the airline was crowdsourced. They brought people into the process. They did not take themselves too seriously. And they give back. So free Wi-Fi, the bus service. They've extended ticket counters out of airports into other places that are more convenient, frankly, for their customer base. And step six, they've stayed very nimble. It's very hard to be nimble if you're a giant brand, a giant company. You're just not organized to behave that way. Azul is. They understood the power of social media, again, particularly with their customer base. And they seized it very, very early on. They've been extremely aggressive in social media in a way that their competitors have not been. And it's worked. So look at how they've grown, right? Really over a 2-year period. They're now a 4 billion reais company. One of the biggest growth rates in the airline industry, full stop, globally. Incredible success story. They're opening up new routes all the time because of this growth. And last year, 80% of their travelers took their first airplane flight. So they've really hit on that insight, and they're delivering a product that serves it. So one last story. Do you remember the slide from before? This was the iPhone 5 launch. So the guy in the upper right was our client at Samsung. There's me in the lower right, sitting in that war room. So he left Samsung. And he went to Motorola. And he took us. So Motorola, does anyone have a Motorola in your pocket? You're the lone guy with the Motorola. Yeah, I'm sorry. So, it didn't always used to be that way, right? Motorola was a great, incredibly storied brand with an amazing legacy, right? So the first moon landing, the way that we heard Neil Armstrong speak was through Motorola technology. They invented the first mobile phone. I don't know whether none of you are old enough to have a phone like that, but I had that phone that was this, we called it the shoe phone because it was the size of your shoe. They invented the first flip phone, literally the first flip phone, and they had the most popular phone for about 3 years running until 2006. And then the world caved in on Motorola. So much so that today, except for you, if you have one phone on the table with no brand on it and another smartphone that has a Motorola brand, the majority of people will choose the unbranded phone over the Motorola phone. This is a problem. This is a really, really big problem. Almost as big as the problem that we had with Samsung when they weren't even in the competitive set. But guess what? It's different now. Motorola is now owned by Google. Google doesn't make many mistakes. It's a brave new world for Motorola. Very, very interesting time to be at Motorola. So, can you guess what we're doing now? Based on what I've told you about what we did at Samsung, based on what I've told you about the way that I think zebras win, can you guess where we're starting? So, as you all know, probably many of you watched, Apple announced its new product assortment on the 10th of September. The new iPhone 5C and the S. So iPhone 5C is their premium device. The S comes in 5 colors. This new device, something you need to know about the new Google device in order for it to make sense to you, is the technology of the device allows for 2 things that are new to the world. No one's ever seen them before. The first is a deep, deep integration with voice activation. So you literally do not have to ever touch your phone in order to turn it on or operate any of the functionality of Google services. Really powerful. Most of you, if you have an Apple device or a Samsung device, you generally, normal human beings who have smartphones touch their phones between 60 and 80 times a day just to find out very basic things like, what time is it? Do I have any messages? With the new Motorola device, you never have to do that again. It pushes messages to you, and you can activate all the functionality of the phone just with your voice. So, on the day before Apple launched its new line, this spot debuted.
Okay, you ready and relaxed?
Yes.
You got me next, right?
Okay, I got you.
Turn off romantic music like Miguel.
Okay. You gotta touch me first.
Can't touch you right now, man. My hands.
You know the rules. No touchy, no Migueli. Yeah. Now you gotta find the music out. Lower. Oh. Yeah, it didn't work. I'll just sing it. These lips, can't wait to taste your skin. Ooh, you're salty, you must have just worked out. And this body, girl, I wanna drape it on you. Just put it all over you like a big old sheet, girl.
Okay, Google now. Play Miguel.
Moto X responds to you even when your hands are full. No need to press, tap, or wave to get it to play your music.
Oh, yeah, this is better. Oh, you got a text message. It's from Sharon.
Again, imagine how annoyed you are if you're working at Apple and you see this spot the day before you launch your brand new device. So, Act 2 of picking a fight with a bully. So you know I mentioned that the iPhone, the new S, comes in 5 colors. Now, what's fascinating about the Moto X, and this is the second big feature, is that you can fully customize the device online before you get it. You can create 2,000 different combinations. So in our way of thinking, 2,000 color combinations, configuration of the software, size of the device, all of which you can do yourself, was a more interesting story than 5 different colors from Apple. So the day before, new news here, the day before the new iPhone went on sale, which was September 20th, this spot runs.
Okay. So, now that we're back from the mall, why don't we try on some of these accessories?
Do I have a choice?
No. Okay. Look at this, to set you apart.
Oh.
This really captures my essence, I think. My friends are gonna love this. Now you'll really stand out. And to protect you. Ready?
Sure. We're like sisters. This is really gonna change things for you.
Isn't it about time you had a phone you can truly design yourself? With 2,000 ways to customize, Moto X matches your unique style from the beginning.
You look great.
Thank you. Please take almost all of it off.
Super annoyed if you work in Cupertino. So, it has worked. So we're approaching 20 million views as of today. And again, during the week of iPhone's launch, ours was the #1 video. All of Apple's video-based content, a distant #5 during the week of their launch. Very, very annoying. So I love zebras, and I hope you guys do. I hope those of you who are working for a zebra feel like you have a new playbook and can play a little bit by different rules. Thank you.